Okay, so today we thought, given some of the crazy stuff that's happened over the course of the last week or so, that we would talk about presidential power today as we've been discussing the the parts of Project 2025 that we find interesting and maybe detrimental to the future of this country. Anyway, one of the biggest ones that we haven't really talked about today, or we haven't talked about until today, is what this document says and what we're observing now about the change in presidential power and how the president has gone from being, the head of the executive to basically being the head of everything. So one of the things that Project 2025 envisions basically is rebuilding the American government on what I like to think of as being like a really, really sharp-sided isosceles triangle. And for those of you, an isosceles triangle is two sides equal and one side not. Anyway, really, really one that looks like a really skinny Christmas tree. Okay, anyway, I hope that didn't sound too condescending. If you felt it was condescending, I meant it for you. Anyway. But that at the top is the president, and everything underneath that is subject to and must abide by whatever the person at the top's view of anything is. So bugger the experts in any one of the governmental departments. Screw the scientists, screw the people with a, collective 100 years of experience and education and health, and screw the doctors, and screw all of these people, and screw the lawyers too, by the way. Whatever it is that the president wants is what gets to happen. And it's basically a dictatorship with very, very few checks and balances, and those checks and balances are also subject to the whims and retribution of the person at the top. Okay? So how the fuck did we get here?
How did we get here? Is that another topic or?
Well, I think that that's just a lead into how did we get here. Jesus Christ.
Well, I have a question for you, and I'm
Yes.
going to ask you because you know more about the Project 2025 than I do. Did in in pre preparing or proposing this new construction of the government, did they think that they were being faithful to the founding fathers?
So they believe, and I think that we covered this in one of our earlier podcasts, they believe that they are speaking for the patriots who subscribe to the American ideal of those who fought the Revolutionary War. So they're not talking about, those who won the Civil War. They're not talking about constitutional. They're suggesting that we've got the Constitution all wrong, and that there should never have been amendments. That that the Constitution was a perfect document as designed by those who wrote it, and that somehow they have a fucking crystal ball or something to know, just like all the originalists on the Supreme Court believe that they know what the founding fathers meant
Okay.
in drawing up
So
the Constitution.
they would be called strict constructionalists. Constructionalists. Is that correct?
Yeah, perhaps, yeah.
If that's true, and I'm going on your reading of it, knowledge of it, the founding fathers, um, way up there at the top, perhaps Thomas Jefferson, but most of them were very much afraid of replacing a king with another type of authoritarian figure, i.e., the president. And therefore, as we were talking about earlier, checks and balances to make sure that the executive had his share of or her share of power, but
her share of power. Yeah, like we'll ever see that.
One day, one
yeah,
day,
I won't live to see
one day. Um, huh, um, but obviously, I mean, how can they claim that when they have done nothing but devise a document, the 2025, that makes the president about as powerful as a king might wish to be? I mean,
Right.
how can I don't understand that.
Well, it basically stops or basically checks the check and balance power that the other two supposedly co-equal branches of government have. So, Congress or the legislative branch and the judicial branch. So by stuffing all of these with loyalists, by gerrymandering to make certain that that they win regardless, and by they I mean Republicans, and by primarying every sitting Republican that does not fall in line with what dear leader says. So I mean, they're even, cannibalizing their own fucking party. So here's the whole point in my esteem, in my vision. How this happened was at the beginning with the cult of personality that was Trump, and guys like Peter Thiel just simply saying, and the Koch brothers saying, you know what, people are stupid. Let's take advantage of this. Let's get them angry about a handful of shit. Let's get them motivated and get them out to vote. We'll keep them scared. The boogeyman, who at this stage is, of course, the immigrant. And if you're part of the LGBTQ community, you are right up there with immigrants, my friend. And mouthy women too. Mouthy women shouldn't have, these kids. We should fear mouthy women. So get to buy yourself a news network. That was Reagan. Reagan did that by getting rid of the Fairness Doctrine and having his good buddy down in Australia running conservative media like crazy. And so just gather together a storm of people who are happy to give away their rights for safety from these bugaboo issues, and punish people who don't feel like them, or don't think like them, and don't vote like them. So it's like, the schoolyard bullies becoming the people who make all the rules. And as they get into a spot, then they elbow their way through the, adjacent spots, then they just fill all this. At some point, it's going to be just too, in my opinion, I think it's just going to be too top heavy to continue. And I mean, already we're seeing people are peeling off from their support of Trump because he's just so outrageous and so obviously in, undiagnosed late stage syphilis. It's hard to, come on, my clinician friends out there, tell me that's not what late stage syphilis looks like. Look at his videos and his interviews from the 80s and 90s and look at the ones now, and you tell me that that's not a progressive decline on a linear scale that is completely consistent with undiagnosed syphilis. It is.
Idea for a new T-shirt. It's like, ask yourself, does he have syphilis?
And everybody's going to know
who
we're talking
or
about.
Or if they don't, they'll stop and say, well, who are you talking about? Well, Trump supports you, you're right,
Yeah, well, it's just like the people who have the T-shirts to say, is he dead yet? We don't need to ask who they're talking about. We know who they're talking about. Oh my God, the most divisive person in, I think, the history of America.
Yeah. I just had a thought about 5 minutes ago, and I think I'm correct in saying this. This is off the subject, but it seems like, God, I can't believe I'm thinking this and saying it. With maybe, I don't know how many, this is like number 9 or 10 for us for 11 or 12, something like that.
12 or so,
Yeah. With the exception of maybe 1 or 2 episodes, seems like I'm always taking the liberal position. What the fuck is happening here?
That's because he's not conservative.
Yes, he is. And I don't like to say fuck a lot, but
He's
I'm
not. Oh, come on. Fuck rolls off the tongue.
well, I know, but a lot of
Like
things
honey
roll off the
does.
tongue that shouldn't. Anyway, again, fuck. I have to think about that. Not that I take back anything I've said. I don't think. I don't think I think it. Anyway, I just had to throw that out. That's a rather terrifying, sobering thought that I have been. What's the expression? What shall I say? That I have been. Huh.
A closet liberal all these years?
No. I was a closet something for no, not as bad as liberal. No, I mean being gay is not half as bad as liberal. Uh, um, in bed so much, so to speak, with the liberals. Um, oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that because I'm gonna have to get up and go pet a cat or something to get my composure back.
They'll be running through here shortly.
Yes, okay. So I just thought I'd throw that out. It's a non sequitur, but it's very much a sequitur up here right now.
Yeah. At some point in time in a later podcast, we will discuss the exactly four things
I
that
thought he was
Stephen and I
three.
disagree with. Well, there's one that's adjacent.
Oh, what
That's
is
sort
it?
of is the transgenderism thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Don't
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to believe it. It's like I don't believe in sunshine. It's like, well, there it is. It's right there. It's like right there.
There's a huge flaw which she's missing, which I'm not gonna even say anything more about, but I can't wait to spring it one day.
Yeah. I'll be coming with the receipts for that one when we have that discussion. But anyway, it does sort of seem to me that we cannot get away from talking about this goddamn legislature. It's just this legislature. Well, we don't even call it legislature here. That's Canadian in me. But this administration is so incompetent and so corrupt. I mean, here we are with the president negotiating foreign policy with Russia, but not really with Ukraine, about trying to end the war in a fashion so as to give Russia everything it wants in exchange for giving America the opportunity for its oligarchs to get in there with their dirty little, filthy little fingers and benefit, make billions and billions as robber barons in the industrial coast.
And if I'm correct in this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but who the hell, I won't say fuck this time,
You just did.
I don't, who the hell does that creature in the awful office think he is that he can suggest to the president of Israel that Netanyahu be pardoned? Didn't he not do that?
Yeah, he did.
Who,
He's just been weighing in on foreign elections, saying well, you people, you need to elect this person, otherwise we will be rethinking our aid that we send to your country. Like, the fuck? Where is America? This is not America. America did not used to think it was okay to actively, openly, out in the open, out in broad daylight, formally meddle in other countries' elections. I mean, they did it plenty over the course of generations. They've done plenty of meddling, but it was never a policy to do so.
When is the EU going to gather up their balls and ovaries and turn the tables?
Well, they're already doing it.
But
They're doing it in the only way. I mean, this Americans won't know because Americans don't listen to international news. So they won't be aware of this. But in terms of trade, the EU, the UK, Australia, Canada, Japan, large parts of the South Asia and East Asia, they're just going behind America's back and making trade deals with each other. Because, like for Canada, for instance, I mean, Canada, yeah, is still negotiating a trade deal with the United States, but it's all lip service because in the meantime, Mark Carney is going out of his way to steal and STEEL Canada's resolve to not do further trade than is absolutely necessary with the United States. So they're finding all kind of other buyers all around the world, of which there are plenty who have lots of money and would be more than happy to take Canada's products because everybody needs them. But we've just been, because of the nature of that enormous long border along the 49th parallel, Canada's been trading to the south uh, in good faith. And now that we don't have, I'm we when Canada's in the right, um, as opposed to they. Uh,
From now
don't
on, when we say they, it means the bad guys.
the bad guys, yeah. But
Otherwise known as
sincerely,
Republicans.
America is not to be trusted on the global stage in terms of trade. And again, it's not just because of Trump, but it's because the American population elected him a second time. It's not like they did not know what they were getting. So, not surprisingly, the rest of the world is, yes, they're paying lip service to Trump. They're, oh, yes, oh, you have such big penis, sir. You know, oh, you're so wonderful, so powerful. Thank you so much for all the help you've given us, and you're such a great friend, and all this other stuff. While around the back, they are trading with everybody else, and these, oh, yes, we promise we're going to get, like the EU saying they're going to give, like, how many hundreds of billions of dollars in trade that they've already made arrangements for to other countries. So, yeah, they're just saying, sure, whatever you want us to write down on a trade agreement, fine. But we're not going to do it because we don't expect you to live up to your end of the bargain. We know that these trade deals are not worth the air that you farted into while you were signing them. So they don't buy. They don't care. They don't care. They know that they're worth nothing.
So there's not going to be any trust between us and everybody else.
That's all we're. It's already there. It is already there, and it took no time, less than a year.
And who's the happiest person on the planet about this?
Vladimir Putin
And
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping. Yes, those two. Gosh, really, if they don't make Trump an honorary Chinese and an honorary Russian, I don't know why not.
Even they don't want him.
Even they don't want him. You got that right.
They understand that he's just a useful tool.
God, he is a tool. What a tool indeed.
Yeah. Temporarily useful tool.
Wow.
But yeah, so but again, as long as, just getting back to our topic, which is presidential power, he doesn't actually have the power to do all the shit that he's doing. But because the Republicans in Congress are not standing up and saying, wait a second, you are usurping our power, our rightful duties. You're taking away our ability to write legislation. You're taking away our ability to control the purse strings. You know, you're governing by executive order, a whole bunch of which is illegal. But if nobody stands up and cries foul, then he's allowed to do whatever he wants. And of course, the Supreme Court has already said that anything that he does. Any president, by the way, remember this, Republicans, the next time a Democrat gets into the presidency, because I don't think there will be another Democrat for a long, long time who's going to be a goodwill, kind of person like Obama or Biden and say, oh, no, but you know what? I want to be a benevolent leader. I want to be the president for all Americans. They're not going to be making this fucking mistake again. And if they ever end up with the presidency in both chambers of Congress, you can guarantee they're going to be finding every one of the holes in the Constitution and all the legislation, and they're going to be stuffing them full to make sure that this motherfucking shit never happens again.
going on from there, it seems like the Republicans, giving the devils their due, um, between the first Trump administration and this one, they were not just sitting at their country clubs eating bonbons and playing tennis. They were working hard on the 2025 document. So they were looking forward to the future. If that's the case, it would seem that, to me, if one draws this out logically to the future, if not a conclusion, at least into the future, it would seem like they'd almost have to have in mind that the Democrats are not going to get to the point where they're going to win another election.
Well, that's the
Because-
whole purpose, right?
Because if they do, they will turn on us what we have created. So,
Well, that's why Trump said to, oh Christ,
Mhm.
who's the head of the Senate Republican? What's his face, Thune, yeah.
Thune.
Said to him, like, look at, you know, take the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster. If you get rid of the filibuster, I will absolutely assure you that there will never, ever be a Democrat in the White House again, and we will never have to worry about Democratic control in either chamber of Congress. They intend to cheat. They're already doing it. And by the way, we need to have a conversation at some point in time about partisan gerrymandering. I don't understand why anybody is okay with this. It's cheating, and I don't give a shit who's doing it. I do not care.
It's
It
legalized
is
cheating.
fucking cheating. It's
Yeah.
cheating, and it should be outlawed completely. And I don't understand why Americans tolerate it. I don't. I don't understand it, but they do. Stupid, man.
I had something really profound and brilliant to say, and it just escaped me. So I'm going to ask something less profound. How do we, as opposed to they, how do we deal with a party or an administration, a movement, whatever you want to call it, that is so overtly bound on I was going to say usurping power. I don't know if that's quite the right word yet, but in keeping power ad nauseum. I mean,
Well, it's just
I don't want not to give ammunition to them, and not to sound like an elitist, because I am not an elitist. I'm just a humble conservative guy. Are there enough Americans who know what's going on and care enough about what's going on to do something like, oh, that's what, it's coming back, the final thought was coming back. Before the Revolutionary War began, right before, there were formed what was called committees of correspondence. And this was exactly what it said, committees of correspondence amongst the 13 colonies, debating, giving opinions on what to do about the coming crisis, which everybody could see was going to happen. Are there enough Americans out there to form committees of correspondence these days? I wonder. And that's not a rhetorical question.
I guess it depends on who's involved. You know, Democrats are not organized this way. They would not be able to, well, I mean, they would be able to, but it's just not something that they're doing. Republicans have been playing the long game.
Mm-hmm.
They've really been playing the long game, and to their credit, because they understand that they can't win elections on policy because their policies are enormously unpopular. They just are. And so they know that they can't win that way. They need to find other ways to win in order to institute the things that they think are how America should be, despite the fact that they clearly don't understand the of the people, by the people, for the people. They don't understand that. These are basically the Confederates that just never really went away. They just morphed into, first the Tea Party and now MAGA. These are just Confederates. This is just the Confederates that were, forced out of office eventually, but really truly believe that, you know, people are just stupid and they're sheep and they're tools that should be used to make money for who they think of as being smarter, more worthy people who are always white men and rich industrialists. So it's just the same group of people. It's the same set of antiquated, misogynistic, antisocial fucking policies. It's the same shit.
Okay, so let's assume, or not, but assume, assume is too weak a word, I think, that we believe that these guys are wrong.
I believe they are. History says that they're wrong.
Can we say that they're evil?
Evil.
Evil.
Well, they're ignorant for sure.
But sticking to evil, because wrong and evil are not the same thing.
This is true.
I should say they don't have to be the same thing.
Well, they
can be.
Can be an overlap in that.
They can be, but it's one thing to say a person is wrong, and when there are things that one can do to help what you see as wrong. It's another thing to really, if not radically, then seriously different, to say that something or some proposal or some person is evil. And evil, it doesn't presuppose, at least I don't think it has to presuppose, that you believe in even a deity. I think that I would hope that people could say that what we are doing to pollute the earth is not only wrong, but it moves to the point of being evil. It's
so when we get to these kinds of discussions, one of the things that happens to me is that because the term evil, I have such kind of feelings about it, and I think what would be best is to define what do we mean specifically when we use the term evil. So back to our discussion about evil. Sorry, I thought my beans were burning. We're back. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's important to define the term. So you were saying earlier about it having to do with morality, and for me, you got to define that term too, because what one person says is moral, to me is maybe not moral, or vice versa. When I think about evil, if I were to consider the possibility that evil does exist, I would think of it as being something that is consciously in abject disrespect for other people's well-being. So careless disregard, deliberate careless disregard.
And would you include in that consequences? Would consequences help determine whether something was, quote, simply wrong or had marched to the level of being evil.
So, give me an example. I mean that the consequence. Somebody does this series of things and nothing really bad happens, so it's just a mistake. Where somebody else does exactly the same series of things deliberately, and the consequence is really terrible, and then we deem that as evil.
Um, Let me think for a second.
You know what? These are not as easy a question to answer as you might think.
No.
There's tons and tons of layers of assumed agreement about things. That this is a minutia argument. This is not this is not a easy black and white like a lot of like a lot of evangelicals would have you believe. Oh, this is evil. I hear that term bandied around a lot from the far right about abortion, for instance, about people coming to the country without papers, about just I just really, really, really hear this term a lot, and so to me, it doesn't have any really solid meaning. I don't even know if evil is something that exists. Um, I I do believe that people make mistakes. I believe people have careless disregard, and I believe that people have mental illness. And I think that there's probably space to believe that evil exists when some of those things interact, or when some of those things intersect. And for me, when I think about evil, I think about people doing something that benefits themselves, knowing full well that it is going to create harm, pain, or devastation to another population or to the planet or to whatever, and they don't care. They do it anyway because it benefits them.
I'm almost thinking about this and listening to what you're saying. I'm almost tempted to say that for me, evil is something that is self-evident. And for me right now, at this point in time, Gaza, to me, is the situation in Gaza, and is an evil wrought by Netanyahu, who should go to prison, and I certainly hope he does. To me, that is the best example of evil, not only that I can think of today, but well, I won't say any more about today or ever. I won't say that, but it is so, at least to me, it is so self-evident. I mean, unless you are a totally amoral person in which the only thing you care about is your own small existence, then how can you not look at what 67,000 Palestinians killed, civilians killed, not just wounded, killed. I mean, God knows how many hundreds of thousands have been wounded. But
and made homeless.
And could go on and on and on, but just killed, and not say that that is not evil. I wouldn't understand that. I would not understand that. To me, if that is not evil, then there is no evil. I'd say that absolutely. To me, it's sickening. I could launch onto a tangent here about Israel, which I won't do, but I would love to later.
A future date.
Future date. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, the Israel-Palestine conflict is a complicated one. It's there's, and I know a lot of people feel no, this is black, this is white, this is right, that's wrong. But it's a lot more complicated than that. But I mean, I absolutely agree with you, and in terms of the way that Palestinians have been treated in Gaza for a long, long time, well, since the establishment of Israeli state. And this is another thing where I feel like a lot of American politicians are just steadfastly behind Israel, despite the fact that, the world court is openly saying that Benjamin Netanyahu is a fucking war criminal, and he is, and there's clear evidence I mean, ask Jose Andres about whether or not he thinks Benjamin Netanyahu is a fucking war criminal. He lost 7 of his crew in a clearly marked uh, aid van that they just were targeted, and there was nothing anywhere near them. They were targeted as an act of terrorism, and he lost 7 of his crew. So ask him what he thinks about whether or not Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. So yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no question in my mind that he's if there's evil that you could point at, I would point at him.
The one story that I've heard, and there's so many more uh, that I've heard from the Gaza war, that it makes me so sad, and again so convinced of evil, is this Palestinian woman doctor was at the hospital or whatever, taking care of people, and at some point while she was there, they brought in her 9 children who had been killed in an air raid by the Israelis. Her whole family. I don't know about the husband, but her 9 children, all dead, brought to her. If that's not evil, then there's never been evil in the history of the world. And when I heard that, I didn't even want to believe it. It's like, how does this woman? I'd love to know. Well, how does one deal with that? I don't know. It makes me want to get on a plane and go to Israel and park myself in front of Netanyahu's house or wherever until the man is in prison.
It's heartbreaking. The stories are just awful. I mean, this horrific suffering. There's no question about it. Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote after he visited Palestine, and wrote about how he saw that what he saw there, he said he could describe as nothing different than apartheid. And it is. It is. It has been for 2 generations now. So it seems clear to me that the American and the Israeli idea of solving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is simply to eliminate Palestinians. Get rid of the Palestinians, no more conflict. And I think that I could easily think of that as being evil. That's complete careless disregard for an entire, group of people for your own benefit, simply for your own benefit.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, since I've been born, since I've been living, I guess maybe I should give a little more thought to this, but without giving any more thought to it, and I have a bit. I preface a lot. Forgive me, but if you don't know yet or noticed yet, I preface a lot. So that whatever. I think that the Gaza genocide is the most horrible thing that I've lived through in my life. I think there have been other situations in which many more people were killed. It's not just the number, although 2 million Palestinians there and 67,000 dead, God knows how many wounded, and their lives lost forever, changed forever. It's okay. this is getting off on a tangent, but bear with me,
We're
forgive me.
already on a tangent. I mean, we started talking about presidential power,
Right,
and unsurprisingly, we have morphed into a discussion of evil.
yeah.
Mm.
I'm losing my train of thought here. I don't see how, I don't understand how a country as, quote, as civilized, and I would have, before this, thought that Israel was one of the most civilized countries in the world. Such a civilized country could unleash their soldiers and just slaughter at random without, and try to pretend that the majority, whatever, of the killings were, well, they were mistakes. No, those people were in the wrong. They were in the wrong. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. We are certain that there were 5 or 10 or 100 Hamas soldiers in that hospital, and that gives them the right to destroy the hospital, kill God knows. It just
Yeah, I don't know how
enough.
that. I don't know how that warrants being an excuse for the actions. It's like, I don't care how many. You don't have a better way of, like, seriously. Israeli intelligence is supposedly some of the most sophisticated intelligence in the fucking world.
Yes.
They can't find these Hamas fighters without just destroying, scorching the earth in order to find them.
And then
it's just all horseshit, by the way. This whole thing is horseshit.
It's not only that, it's now, who do the Israelis think they are that they can bomb at will in Lebanon, in the center of Beirut, because they could kill not Hamas, who's the Hezbollah, could kill a Hezbollah leader in the middle. Lebanon is a sovereign country. Lebanon is a sovereign. Israel has lost or sold its soul, or is losing, if not lost its soul. And I've always been a great, not just supporter, a lover of Israel, but that's quickly fading away. I would not go out in the streets now and defend support of Israel. I wouldn't do that. I would have done it gladly before. I wouldn't do it now for anything in the world.
I've never understood this blind allegiance to Israel. I mean, to me, it's Americans have it because they don't want to admit that they made a mistake after the end of the Second World War. There's this, we feel so bad. This is bad. This is bad. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to give you this. But there's people who are already living there and have been for 1,000 years. Oh, you'll figure it out. I think that Americans don't want to admit that they made a fucking horrible mistake, and they're really responsible for this fucking conflict. I mean,
well, I wouldn't answer that one way or the other. I don't know, but just living or dealing with the present, and not that that's not important. I'm not dismissing it at all. But
I just think that's where the blind allegiance to Israel, regardless of who their leader is or what their leader does. I mean, at this stage of the game, it's pretty hard to argue that the oppressed have not become the oppressors.
Oh, no argument here.
I can't imagine.
No argument.
I hear nobody with a reasonable or well thought out or factual argument that would support that they're righteous in their pursuit against the Palestinians. They're not. They're simply not.
Couldn't agree more.
Anyway. President's got too much power.
President's got
The
too
president's
much
got too
power,
much
and
power.
see what's happening.
And see what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, what I hope will happen is that the MAGA support group will dwindle little at a time, and they're all invested in a handful of things. I guess a bunch of them are super invested in the Epstein files, and that's just horrifying and disgusting, and we can talk all about that another time. But it does seem to me that there's been some peeling off, and I don't know how important the peeling off is, and I don't know how much it's going to actually make a difference. But people who have been the elected officials, who have been entrusted to carry out their sworn allegiance and protection to protect the Constitution and to work for their constituents, at some point they need to step forward, and they need to stop being afraid of the fact that the current administration is threatening to primary them if they don't stay in lockstep with whatever dear leader says. I mean, this is where, again, you've got a party, a political party that is kowtowing to a single person who is backed by and supported by, at the absolute top in the shadows. Who knows? I mean, some we certainly know who they are, but this ridiculous attitude that if you don't do what Der Fuhrer wants, you're going to be gone. You're going to need to stand up and realize, you know what? He can't jail all of you. He can't primary all of you. And by the way, wake up. His primary challenges to many of these elected officials have been just awful, and they've fallen flat on their faces, these ridiculous radical assholes who nobody in their right mind would vote for at all. So, I mean, I don't know what they're afraid of. What the fuck are Republicans afraid of? Like, what are they afraid of?
They're afraid that they're not going to get reelected.
But
they're afraid
all
of that.
evidence to the contrary. I mean, if they hold a seat that they're not being challenged by a strong Democrat, why are they afraid that a fucking Republican primary is going to take them out?
Well, I forget what it is, but a huge amount. Something like, is it 80% or so of districts in the country are, quote, safe districts? That
because gerrymandering.
You can pretty much assume that whoever's in there, if they want to get reelected again or run again, they'll be reelected again.
Hello, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
So again, why the fear? Where comes the fear?
Mm-hmm. Because the MAGA base, in terms of actual numbers, it's not that big. It's really not that big.
Well, supposedly, I think the number 34% keeps coming to mind. That is supposedly the absolute solid percentage of American voters, at least who are voted, are diehard Trumpians. 34% of American voters. I think that 34% is going to go down. The question is it going to go down soon enough?
Or significantly enough.
These people.
Or will it matter?
Or will it matter? Indeed. Again, going back to what I said half hour ago or so, the writers of the 2025 manifesto surely intend on staying in power no matter what beyond 2026 or 2028. Yeah, these people may be wrong. Some even say some of them are evil, but wrong or evil or whatever, these are not dumb people. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Give the devils their due. They surely did not write this with blinders on, thinking only through 2026 or 2028. If they want to redo the government, then they want to redo it for the extended future, not just for the next several years.
They don't intend it to be a 4-year plan.
No.
They intend this to be establish it now and then build a chasm around it so that nobody can penetrate. That's it. And I guarantee you, we've had this conversation before about, my absolute assertion that there will not be midterm elections. That there will be some manufactured crisis whereby Trump will find a way to declare martial law. And, we're already seeing this, okay, we're at war now with fucking Venezuela. That's unless Congress steps up, grabs hold of their fucking sack and says, hang on a second, you don't get to declare that, that's our job, and we say no. There's no imminent threat with Venezuela. In fact, most of the fentanyl is not coming from there at all. And what you're using as an excuse is not only not real, it's incorrect. And there is a threat of fentanyl, but it's not coming from there. And why are you declaring war on this country that is not doing it? Well, by the way, it's not really like that's new in America.
I love when I heard the other day, whatever the idiot said it, that he was closing the airspace over Venezuela. I could only laugh. Okay, well, I'm going to say that I'm going to win the lottery. On Wednesday and win $300 million. Why not? Why not? It's every bit as likely as possible to saying that by saying it, the airspace over Venezuela is closed. My Lord, my Lord.
Well, no, this is the same idiot, the same absolute knuckle dragon slackjaw who said, oh, well, the president is allowed to declassify anything. He can declassify anything anyhow. In fact, even, if he just thinks about it, he can declassify something. This is actually something he said. And people look at that and go, maybe.
Gee, I didn't know he could do that. Damn, I'm glad I voted for him.
My God. And you wonder why we call you stupid. I know nobody who's out there who believes that is watching this podcast. So.
This is true.
But if you were, come here. I will make you a cup of coffee or pour you a cocktail. We'll have that conversation. Because sincerely, this crazy shit that people believe and tolerate. I mean, can you imagine any Democratic elected official at all telling a reporter, quiet, piggy, and not being absolutely crucified for it? And I want to know how the rest of the press corps felt about that and why they didn't fucking do something.
Yeah.
I live in hopes that one day he will abuse the shit out of a reporter who suddenly stops and says, you don't fucking talk to me like that. I don't give a shit who you are. You don't fucking talk to me like that.
What's he going to do? Throw you off the plane?
Right. Exactly.
No,
He's going to throw you in jail because, you said stop abusing me. I mean, fuck. Why are people letting this guy do this shit?
Yeah.
Why are we tolerating this? Why are the people not in the streets absolutely fucking with pitchforks and torches demanding that this man step down? I guess because the alternative is as bad or worse.
So, do we deserve the president we get?
Well, I feel, I was just saying this to a friend of mine earlier today, a pox on the house of anybody who voted for this motherfucker. I mean, sincerely. Really, sincerely. You knew better. You did it anyway. And you brought this on us.
But did they know better?
They had no excuse to not know better. They had no excuse to not know better. And I don't care if you're in the middle of a fucking cow patty in Wyoming, it does not stop you from being able, I mean, you've got the internet. You have access to the same information that I have. You have access to the same information that as everybody does. And so you have no excuse for your ignorance. You were there for the first 4 years, and Christ, if you thought that Trump did a good job in his first 4 years, are you insane? Are you fucking insane? Do you not remember the pandemic where all of us lost our shirts and 1 million people died? The fuck? But oh, of course, that's just liberal propaganda, right? 1 million people really didn't die. I actually had somebody attend a cooking school here and a cooking class, and somehow at dinner after the class, because we were enjoying the fruits of their labor, we got into a discussion about the pandemic and how, obviously the number of people that are being said have died from COVID is not the actual number. It's much, much less, because, and this guy was absolutely certain, with absolutely no experience and no connection to the health field at all, that, well, hospitals were labeling people who died as having died from COVID because they got more money from insurance companies if they said that they were, dead of COVID. I said, that's obviously not true. But I know where you heard that because that's what they were saying on Fox News.
Jesus said, the poor you will have always with you. He forgot to say the idiots and fools you will always have with you too.
Sigh.
Yeah.
But you know what? You reduce the number of those by really, really educating your population. And I don't understand why America wants to dumb down population.
I know.
It's just, I don't understand why they want to raise generations of stupid people, uneducated people, ignorant people who have no critical thinking skills and can't. Well, I guess because it's easy to control them and manipulate them, I guess, if they're stupid.
And, I'm hearing you say
Sounds
that.
like the Viet Cong,
I'm hearing you say that, and I'm thinking of the folks who are not listening to us, who are not in the audience, which you were, those whom we're talking about, and you all are thinking, the elites. But, why would, you don't know me from Adam, so whatever. But why would I, as I said before, a very humble, conservative guy, living at such and such an address on such and such a street in New Orleans, why would I, first of all, why would I consider myself an elite? I don't. But why would I set out to fill your minds, or at least invite you to think about things that are so outrageous that don't affect me? Whether you believe me or not, what I say makes no difference in a sense. Granted, there are plenty of coastal and otherwise elites in the country, and You Democrats out there, if you want to control the House again and the Senate and get the presidency back, you might want to think about talking to, and Bernie Sanders and others saying the same thing. You might want to think about talking to people as people and not someone that you look down on because they don't live in the Upper East Side of New York or wherever in San Francisco. You know,
Wherever that's coming from, I don't understand, but
yeah.
because I don't see any Democrats speaking like that ever. I just don't ever
Oh,
hear that.
well, I do. And again, though, you know, why would I, and I'm not the only one, but why would I be saying these things other than because I believe them and because I think it's best for the country? It's not going to make, in a sense, it's not going to make any difference to me. In a sense, it will, but in a real sense, it won't. So, you know, we're not saying this to insult. We're saying it to share and perhaps to educate. And there is nothing wrong, as Karen just said, nothing wrong with education.
Education is good.
Education
We
is
should
good.
all want all of our kids to be educated.
And as kids, but especially also as adults, you should have, well, I won't say should, hopefully you have the brain power and whatever to discern what I'm saying and say, well, he's all full of shit, or he's full of a lot of shit, but there's a little bit of there that makes sense. So you know, it's not that I'm talking down to you. It's that I'm talking to you, assuming that you can make heads or tails of what I say and make a wise, educated decision.
Or at least a decision that's based on something that's not an absolute lie or fantasy or just,
Yeah, I mean,
fiction,
why the
complete
hell would I
fiction.
lie? Why the hell would I lie? That, you know, you know,
Why the hell do they lie?
you know, but yeah, well, good point, good point.
Why the hell do they lie?
Oh.
Anyway, the only part of bullshit that I ever hear of you is, I'm conservative.
One day, the
So
great,
not true.
one day,
God.
the great debate or
The great
whatever.
debate will ensue, and I will wear him down. And he's because on all four of those issues, there's only one of them that I think he's unmovable about. But the other, and it's not the one that you think.
It's not abortion.
It's not abortion. You're totally movable about abortion. I will win you over on that one for sure. Because that's just a linear biological easy thing to talk about. And I have all the receipts. I will bring them, and we'll have that discussion one day.
So what is the one thing? What
It's
is
the transgender thing.
Oh,
The transgender thing, it's you are right. People are born with the sex that they have, but to me, the concept of gender and sex are two different things entirely. And I think that that has borne out throughout history, where you've got lots and lots and lots of documented, um, you know, uh, writings about, two-spirited people, about, people who are different, about, and also, I mean, intersex births are not so rare. They're really not that rare. I want to say it's like 25 in 1,000 or something like that. So it's actually really not that rare that people are born intersex, like physiologically with either both, sex organs or partially both sex organs or nondescript sex organs. I mean, it's not that rare. So the idea of sex and gender, though, are two completely different things. And I can do all the research and bring all the statistics about intersex births. But gender is something that's different. Gender is about who do you feel is, your sexuality. And it's not just necessarily about being gay or being straight. It's about, how do you feel as a human being? And, you know, I have known many people who just really, truly felt from a very, very, very young age that they were born in the wrong body. They were just born in a body that had the not correct sex organs. And they were much, much happier living their life as a member of the other sex. And for me, I'm like, what fucking business is it of yours of anybody's, certainly of the government's, to tell you how you should fucking live your life? Oh my God, who the fuck cares? Why are you so interested in what's in somebody else's fucking pants? But I understand what you're saying. You're speaking on a purely physical plane of you're born the sex you are, you'll die the sex you are. What you do in between is immaterial, you know. And you're right. I mean, to a large extent, you're right. People can have the surgery, and I think that's, their choice. And I support anybody who chooses to do that if that's what they want. And we should not be interfering in that as a government. A government should not be making those decisions for a person. That's an enormously personal part of an identity of an individual's life that the government has no business interfering in. So, in terms of the transgender thing, I know you just no, you're the sex that you are at birth, despite the fact that there are lots of people who are both sexes at birth. But for me, the argument, and I'm quite certain that you would agree with me, the argument is about gender and not about sex. Wry smile.
To be continued.
To be continued, that means I scored a point. He didn't want to admit it yet. That's okay. Anyway, back to our discussion. Clearly, we feel like the current president, has too much power. And
the president is designed by 2025.
By Project 2025. And this is what they want. Because if you only have to control one person, then and this sounds very, very conspiratorial, but you got to read this document. It is very conspiratorial. The Federalist Society is kind of a cabal of, we're going to take this shit over and we're going to remake this country into what it should have been originally, which we've missed several opportunities to make it. Civil War, we lost. That was stupid. Reconstruction, we had it in the bag and then we gave it up. That was stupid. Blah, blah, blah. Tea Party movement, we had it, maybe we're going to, but we gave it up. That was stupid. And they keep beating this horse that clearly the people do not want and will not support. But these people, this group of people, it's hard to not think of them as a cabal because many of them are very, very well connected and very, very wealthy and very powerful. They just feel, I don't care what's happened in history, we know this is right. We know that this is the way it's best for America to be, and we're not going to give up until we realize our end goal, which is to have the government rebuilt under one person, which we will be behind, and we will tell them what to think and what to feel and what to say.
And let me, thought just came in. Who is to say that after all their work, or because of all their work, and they achieve their goals, who's to say that they should not be allowed to continue in that vein? If they put all this work in, and Democrats, Independents, don't give a shitters, whoever, new T-shirt.
There needs to be a new political party that don't give a shitters.
Don't give a shitters. Okay. Yeah, I will gladly help you organize that party. Not that I do give a shit, but anyway, if they were either not interested, sleeping, or whatever, taking a shit, whatever, who's to say that? Well, okay, they won, so they won fair and square. Of course, did they win fair and square? That's the question. But and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I certainly don't want those wretched creatures to continue winning. But I'd always come back to me the question of, and again, devil's advocate. If this is and it's not a democracy, it's a republic, it's a democratic republic.
It's a constitutional republic.
Constitutional
not
republic.
Not a democratic republic.
Yeah.
You don't have representational voting here.
Right. If that's the case, then whoever wins has the right to rule. And where do the rest of us, the losers, get off saying, well, we got to fight that. I mean, granted, we have the right to fight it, but so far, after 11 months, 10 months, whatever it is, of fighting,
like fucking eternity.
not much has happened. Again, I never realized. I guess I sort of like to play devil's advocate. It was a great book, by the way. I love that book. But got to give them their due. They worked hard on this. Democrats, independents, whoever, get busy and work. Otherwise, like I keep saying, they're not interested in 26 or 28 so much. They're interested in the future. 3,000, whatever. They have big ideas, they have big plans, and we have to be able to stand up and have better plans, have better ideas, and not be afraid to march and do everything we can, everything within the law to keep them from succeeding.
And on that note, I think, yeah, it's interesting. Before we just sign off, it's interesting that you use the term rule. We never thought about, I'm pretty sure we never commonly use the term rule.
No.
In discussing a presidency before now. And now we're talking about rule. He gets to rule as he chooses. That's not constitutional. That's not, what America was supposed to be built on, of the people, for the people, by the people. So, hey, Mr. Lincoln, maybe we can't hold it.
Even the English kings, the saying is they reign, but they don't rule. Even they don't rule.
Yeah. So we'll see about, hopefully this of the people, for the people, by the people will not perish, but we'll see. Anyway, I think our next podcast, we should just have a fun one and bring forward our best ideas for conspiracy theories, conspiracy ideas about what's going on behind the scenes in the Republican Party. Wouldn't that be fun? I have some great ideas.
Okay, and I'd like to have one. While we're throwing caution to the wind, drones.
Drones, hey.
As the I'm going to say loyal opposition, as the can we say disloyal opposition? As the opposition. As the opposition, how do those who oppose the current regime, how do we go about, quote, overturning it? And since we're getting, just fantasizing about it, at what point is there a point where violence has to enter into the picture.
As a very, very good friend of mine said just really recently, you know, these guys are absolutely ignorant if they think that it's only Republicans who have guns.
Yeah.
So there's that. Anyway, not that we are suggesting any of that.
No,
We're
no,
certainly
no,
not.
no, I don't have a
But
gun.
it is interesting to me to think that stopping a tyrannical government from taking control of the country is precisely what the Second Amendment is about.
Yep.
So there. Anyway. Until next time, I hope that you had a good Thanksgiving, and I hope that you're enjoying the pre-holiday, all of that stuff. Please press like and subscribe, and let us know what you think, what's going on. And hey, you know what? Just for fun, shits and giggles, why don't you tell us what your favorite conspiracy theory is, and what you think might actually be true, and what are things that maybe we haven't thought about before? Because you know what? Some interesting shit.
Yes.
Okay. À la prochaine.
À tout à l'heure.